On a hospital loading dock at dawn, a surgeon slaps a tray from a teen worker's hands and crushes his phone underfoot. A tired nurse steps in, risking her shift and pay to protect the kid and replace his only lifeline. The small act ripples through the building in quiet changes, and an unexpected burden is revealed without drama. Just a quick note before we begin: hit like, share this with a friend, and subscribe for more. Also, let me know in the comments which country you're watching from. It always amazes me how far these stories travel. The surgeon slapped the plastic tray out of the kid's hands. Coffee exploded across the loading dock, brown streaks on the concrete, on the surgeon's shoes, on the kid's white polo. A foam cup spun under a delivery cart and died against a wheel. The kid's phone bounced on the ground. He lunged for it, fingers out. The surgeon got there first and put his heel down. Screen glass snapped with a dry pop. A gull screamed from the roof. A forklift beeped in reverse somewhere behind them. The security guard held a styrofoam cup and watched with a blank face. "I said, don't block the lane," the surgeon said. His mask hung at his neck. His eyes were raw from a long night. "Are you listening?" "I'm sorry," the kid said, on his knees. He wore non-slip shoes with the backs folded down, like he'd jammed his heels in while running late. Coffee dripped from his sleeves onto the ground. Mara had come out for air. She stood 10 feet away with a vending machine, coffee, and a plastic fork stuck in her bun. Her scrubs smelled like soap and sweat. She took in the mess, the kid on the ground, the crushed phone under the surgeon's shoe. The dock was the hospital's back mouth. Fryer heat, diesel fumes, men pushing carts. People kept moving, but eyes flicked over and away. No one wanted to step into it. "Don't block the lane," the surgeon said again, quieter. He didn't lift his foot. His shoulders shook once, like he was cold. He looked young around the mouth when he wasn't moving it. Mara had seen him on charts. Havel, vascular. She had seen his hands through glass at 3 a.m., precise as a sewing kit. She knew what his name could do to a nurse's schedule. She also knew the way the kid's hands trembled while he patted the floor for shards, eyes wet. A cornered look she recognized from patients who tried not to cry on gurneys. She had 40 minutes left of a 12-hour shift and 3 more nights to go. She had begged for this overtime to cover a mortgage payment that had spiked when the interest changed. If she made a problem with a surgeon, someone could take her off nights. Nights paid. She had 2 ways: walk back in, finish her charting, and tell herself it wasn't her business, or step into the lane and own whatever came after. She walked forward until her shoes touched the coffee spread. She set her cup on a stack of empty bread crates. "Lift your foot," she said to the surgeon. He blinked at her like he'd lost the last 3 seconds. "Excuse me, lift your foot," she said again, calm, like asking for a vital sign. "That's his phone." He glanced down. He didn't move. He shouldn't be back here. "He's scheduled to deliver coffee to vascular at shift change," Mara said. She had no idea if that was true, but she read the kid's badge, saw the destination sticker folded on the tray edge. "Lift your foot." The security guard shifted his weight. "Ma'am," he said toward Mara, like a warning. Mara squatted. She put her fingers between the surgeon's shoe and the phone and felt the jag of glass bite her skin through the glove. Blood pricked, small and hot. "Up," she said, looking at the surgeon's ankle, not his face. Now. He lifted his heel a bare inch. She slid the phone out, screen in spiderwebs, casing cracked. He dropped his heel and stepped back, like he was waking up. The kid let out a breath he'd been holding. He reached, then stopped, because his hands were wet with coffee and ground grit. "I'm sorry," he said again, smaller. Mara stood. She handed the phone to the kid with the cleanest corner and pulled a clean towel from the top of the tray. She wrapped his scraped knuckles in it and pressed, gentle. "Don't move," she said to him. She kept her voice even. The surgeon found his voice. "This is a safety zone," he said to the air, to the guard, to cover the moment. "You can't just—" "I will file the report," Mara said, still not looking at him. "I'm the witness." She looked up at the guard. "Where's your log?" "I'll write it now." The guard raised his eyebrows. He held out a clipboard. His styrofoam cup steamed in his other hand. "Incident form is on the next page." The surgeon made a small sound with his tongue, frustration, grief, something. He looked toward the elevators like the hallway was pulling him. "We lost a kid at 3, he said to no one, or to the concrete. He rubbed his eyes with his wrist. Then he looked at Mara. "You think I meant to?" "I don't care what you meant," Mara said, and the guard's eyebrows went up higher. "Step away. Go change your shoes. I'll make sure he's not bleeding." The surgeon's mouth opened, then closed. He glanced at the kid, at Mara's hand on the towel, at the guard's pen. He started to say something else and didn't. He turned and walked fast to the elevator, shoes leaving wet prints. The kid watched him go with his jaw set. His breath came quick. He wiped coffee off his polo with the edge of the towel. His lip shook once and he swallowed it down. "What's your name?" Mara asked. "Luis," he said, quiet. He couldn't be more than 17. His badge said Food Service ID. His shoes were cheap and soaked. His fingers were red from hot coffee. "Okay, Luis," Mara said. "Hold the towel on your knuckles. Don't worry about the floor." She took the clipboard the guard was holding and wrote her name, her unit, time, and what she saw. Her handwriting went heavy when she wrote crushed phone. The guard watched the pen. He looked like he wanted to be anywhere else. "You're going to file that?" he asked. "Yes," Mara said. "Where do I drop it?" He pointed at a metal box by the door with a narrow slot. "Facilities manager collects them." She slid the paper in. The slot clinked. The sound carried in the dock's echo. People glanced over. The guard cleared his throat. "You know what happens if you call out a surgeon," he said. "Not unkind." They submit a note. "Your manager sees it." "Yep," Mara said. "You're on nights," he said, like a question. "I know," she said. She looked at Luis. "Do you need to call someone?" Luis looked at his phone like it might come back to life if he stared. The screen was a glitter of cracks. The display behind it was black. "I need to check something," he said. He looked toward the big hospital doors. "My sister's school calls me. If they can't reach me," he stopped. He swallowed. "Never mind." Mara pulled her own phone from her pocket, case chipped at the corner. "Use mine," she said, holding it out. "I can't," he started. "Use it," she said. "Wipe your fingers on your pants. It's okay." He did, careful, like he was touching a sleeping animal. He dialed a number fast, muscle memory. He held the phone to his ear with a hand that wasn't wrapped in a towel. A woman's voice answered. "Tinny in the dock's open air. School nurse," the voice said. "It's Luis," he said, eyes on the ground. "Is Sophia okay?" He listened, and his shoulders didn't drop, but they didn't rise either. "I can come if I have to," he said. "I'm at work." He listened more. "Can you call this number if you need me? My phone's broken." He read Mara's number off the screen. Mara pulled a glove off with her teeth and paid attention to the way he gripped the phone. Not shaky now, controlled. The towel on his knuckles was blooming a small square of red. "She's okay," he said when he hung up. He handed Mara the phone like it was a loaned book. "She's got a cough. They wanted my number again." He tried to laugh, and it came out thin. "They always want my number. Come inside." Mara said, "We'll clean that hand." She picked up the smashed phone and slid it into an empty sandwich bag from the tray with the torn corner. She tucked it into her own pocket. She didn't know why she did that. It felt like keeping proof. The security guard followed them in and held the door. He didn't look at either of them. "You'll get a call," he said to Mara as she passed. It sounded like a prediction, not a threat. Mara took Luis into a staff break room that smelled like old coffee and lemon cleaner. Brown lockers sat along one wall. A microwave clicked. She sat him in a chair by the sink. She ran water until it came warm and held his fingers under it, gentle as she would for a child's. She dabbed a little soap, rinsed and patted dry with gauze. He winced once and then set his jaw. "I'm going to get fired," he said. "You showed up," she said. "You're not bleeding much. Stay put." She took her wallet out. It was cracked at the fold. She had a card in there with a balance she didn't want to see. She also had cash. A crumpled 20 and 3 ones. It would cover a cheap prepaid for 1 month if the gift shop had one of those blister packs behind the counter, like the pharmacy across the street. She stepped into the hall and called her charge. "I need 10 minutes, she said. "I'm in the staff break near Dock B. Something happened. You can't leave the floor." Her charge said, tired. "We're drowning. Charge has 4. I'll be right back," Mara said. "Tell them to page me if anyone decompensates." "If anyone decomp," her charge started, then gave up. "Fine. 5. Mara jogged to the gift shop. Fluorescents hummed. Trinkets, flowers, magazines. Behind the counter, near the batteries, there they were. 2 blister packs with tiny phones and 30 days in CL tundered in bright letters. "How long does activation take?" she asked the clerk. 5 minutes. The clerk said. "Can't do cash refund if you open it?" "That's fine," Mara said. She put the 20 and the 3 ones on the counter. The clerk didn't look up. The receipt was long. The bag crackled. Back in the break room, Louis sat where she left him, towel folded on his lap like he didn't know what to do with his hands if they were empty. He looked up fast when she came in. She set the blister pack on the table and slid a trash bin over. "Open it," she said. "We'll get you a number. Call the school. Call whoever." "I can't take that," he said, flinching from the plastic. "It's a gift," Mara said. "Don't make me wrestle you." Her voice came out lighter than she felt. He shoved a thumb under the plastic and popped it. He held the tiny phone like it weighed more than it did. Mara sat beside him and tore at the packaging with her nails. She peeled stickers, pressed the battery in, and held the power button until the screen lit. "Name?" she asked when it asked. "Louis," he said. He watched her fingers move. "You didn't have to. I wanted to," she said. "Do you have your SIM?" He shook his head. "It's soldered in. It's just a cheap phone." He touched the smashed one in her pocket with his eyes, not his hand. "Okay," she said. She set the new phone on the table and waited for it to find a signal. Bars climbed. She read the activation code into the robot and tapped the numbers. The robot thanked her. She called her own phone to test it. The new phone buzzed. She answered. "Hi," she said to herself. She hung up. Louis exhaled like he'd been underwater. "I have to keep that number active," he said. "If you don't, they lose the contact." "You will," she said. He nodded. He reached into his backpack and pulled out a thin, beat-up folder. A corner flapped, soft with use. He slid a paper toward her without quite making eye contact. "Temporary guardianship," it said across the top, in block letters. Below, his name. Below that, a girl's name that must be Sophia. A stamp with a seal. A judge's signature. He didn't talk about it. He didn't need to. There was a bus schedule folded under it, highlighted. A dental appointment card. A pharmacy printout with an inhaler refill date circled. There was a photo tucked in, 2 kids at a kitchen table with a cake. The icing said, 8, off-center. The candles dripped wax. Mara looked at the papers and then looked away. "Okay," she said, soft. She had a memory, quick and sharp, of her brother at 12, sitting on the curb with their mum's pills in a bag, waiting for her to finish a shift and drive them to night court. She pushed the memory away. It wasn't the same. It didn't have to be the same to rhyme. Footsteps came in the hall. Shoes squeaked on wax tile. The door opened. The security guard stepped in with his radio. Behind him was Mara's manager, a woman with a lanyard full of keys and tired eyes. "Mara," her manager said. "Dr. Havel called. He filed a report. He says you created a hostile environment. I have to take you off the floor for the rest of the shift, pending review." The words came out like she didn't want to say them and had to anyway. Mara nodded once. There it was. She waited for the blow to land in her stomach. It did, dull and heavy. "Okay," she said. "You can go home," her manager said. "We'll schedule a meeting." She looked at Louis, at the towel, at the small phone on the table with its new number. Something in her face softened by a millimeter. "Are you okay?" she asked him. Louis nodded. "I'm okay." He kept his hand on the phone. Mara peeled off her gloves. She washed her hands and wiped the sink. She threw the wrappers away and put the towel in the bin. She took her badge from her chest and tipped it back on more firmly like armor, then remembered she was going home. She felt stupid for the gesture and left it. Her manager sighed. "I'll call you," she said. She left. The guard stayed a second, then followed. The door swung slow and clicked. Mara sat again. She passed Louis a granola bar from her pocket that had been there so long the wrapper had a crease. "Eat," she said. He took it like it was a contract. He ate small bites to make it last. "Thank you," he said. He kept his eyes on the table. "I can't pay you back right now." "You're going to keep your shifts," she said. "That's how you'll pay me back," he nodded. "Cafeteria has me mornings," he said. "Then after school I do dish." He looked up. "You didn't have to do this." He said it like he knew that made it matter more. She wrote her name on a post-it and her number. She wrote Mara, ear, and then scratched out ER and wrote nurse because it felt less like a place and more like a job. "If they call from school and it doesn't go through, tell them this one," she said. "I'll make the call." He slid the paper into the folder with the guardianship papers like it belonged. He tucked the folder into his bag. He stood. He was taller than her by an inch. He looked younger when he smiled, which he almost did, then didn't. "I have to take the coffee up," he said, voice back to normal. "I'll walk you to the elevator," she said. She picked up the empty tray. The smashed phone and the sandwich bag tugged her pocket. She would give it back later. They walked past the dock. Someone had mopped the coffee streaks. The air still smelled like it. A gull pecked at a dropped muffin. Days moved after that the way days do. Mara got called into a room with a long table and a speakerphone. The surgeon sat there with a clean shirt and a face like he hadn't slept in 20 years. He didn't look at her. He said the words he had to about safety zones and personnel and lanes. Mara spoke when asked. He crushed a phone? She said, I picked it up. She didn't add more. She didn't talk about guardianship folders or coughs. They took her nights away for a week. It landed in her bank account like a bruise. She worked halves and kept her head down. She watched herself in reflections and tried not to make faces. Small things shifted in the building like furniture. Nudged at night. A sign appeared on the dock door at eye level, plain black letters on white. Respect is part of safety. Report Incidents XT 333. It wasn't a banner. It was paper in a plastic sleeve, taped straight. The security guard started carrying an extra phone charger in his pocket. Mara saw him loan it to a transporter once without saying a word. She saw him put a stack of incident forms on a small clipboard by the dock entrance instead of hiding them inside. The cafeteria manager stashed a stack of old phone cases and a roll of bright green tape by the register. For temp phones, she told no one, then told everyone. The tape looked like a uniform when wrapped around a cheap case. Dr. Havel began walking the long way around to the elevators from the garage. He paused once at the dock door, hand on the bar, then let it fall and took the stairs. He said morning to the coffee cart volunteer, and meant it. He bent once to pick up a cup someone dropped and tossed it, fast like he was testing out a new movement. Luis kept his badge. His polo got a new stain, he couldn't get out and he didn't care. He wore the tiny phone on a lanyard under his shirt. The bright green tape made a ring at the bottom like a necklace. He pushed his cart with a steady pace. He said excuse me and people moved. He saved the granola wrapper in the pocket of his bag for a while, then threw it away when it turned soft at the fold. On a Tuesday, Mara saw a girl in a pink backpack sit in the waiting area across from the gift shop, swinging her legs. Luis came out of the employee door and knelt to tie the girl's shoe. The knot came out perfect. The girl stood and elbowed him and he bumped her back with his hip. It looked normal. Later that week in the break room, Mara found a cheap case on the table with her number scratched into it in pen and a folded 20 under it. She left both. She put a post-it on top that said try again next month and underlined it once. On a morning when the sky over the dock came up the color of milk, Mara stood with her coffee and watched her breath. Her nights were back. Her paycheck had a bare spot that would heal if she caught a few extra shifts next month. She'd okayed the math in her head. She thought of the shoe on the phone, the dry crack popping, and her fingers sliding under rubber and grit. She thought how small the phone looked in his hand, how big the folder was, how paper could weigh more than anything. She didn't make speeches in her head. She didn't write down lessons. She looked at the dock and the door and the sign taped straightened it with the side of her hand even though it didn't need it. A pale strip of winter sun slid across the wet concrete near the drain. It was thin, but it held.